Jim Saab, welcome to CNN News 18.
Thank you.
Jim, congratulations for the Emmy nomination. You are, of course, nominated in the Best Actor category at the International Emmy Awards. You really lived the character of Homi J Bhabha, if I'm not wrong. How surprised were you when you heard about the big nomination?
I was completely surprised. I had no idea. I mean, I had forgotten that we had applied. I know that they made me sign a form earlier, and I'd just forgotten about it because some time has passed since then, and everyone has kind of moved on to other projects, right? I didn't know it was being announced on the 26th. When it finally was announced, I got these messages from Abhay being like, you know, you've been nominated for an Emmy. I was like, and then Nikhil started calling me, and yeah, I was honestly very, very surprised. And I looked at the list, and I haven't seen the work of Jonas Carlson or Gustavo Bassani yet, but Martin Freeman, I've been following his career since when I was so much younger, from Tim in The Office to his amazing turns in Sherlock, Fargo, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. He keeps popping up in all of the Edgar Wright films I love. I mean, this is somebody I've known for years and years and years. And
Quite an impressive list of nominees, you're saying.
yeah.
But do you think getting a nomination itself is a big deal?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I believe that about
Because there you're competing with at the world stage. With
approximately 6,000 entries go in from around the world. So out of 6,000 to make the top four is not bad.
So then what is the plan? When you'll be flying to New York, and what are you planning to wear on the red carpet?
I have no idea. I haven't thought about any of these things yet. It's only been a week since the plan, since I've known. She's avoided all other interviews until this one, Vishal. I think it's you.
I know.
I think she just likes you. I don't know. Bhai. I don't know yet. I don't know any of these answers yet. I'll slowly sort them all out in the coming weeks. I don't know.
Sure. Then, are you in touch with other Indian actors who are also nominated at this year's International Emmy Awards?
I haven't spoken to Shefali or Vir yet. I look forward to speaking to them and finding out, what's their plan. I think Vir has been nominated before, but yeah. I don't know him. I mean, I don't know him well enough to, call him up as of yet. But I spoke to people who had been nominated in the past. I spoke to Arjun Mathur, and I spoke to Rongita Nandi from Pritish Nandi Communications, and I spoke to Ram Madhwani because he was nominated for Arya, or Arya was nominated as a show. And they were all just very generous and helpful and sweet about walking me through what to expect. And unfortunately, in the case of Arjun Mathur and Rongita, they didn't get to go because it was the pandemic year. Now it was 2020. So, but Ram really walked me through what to expect once I was there and what I could expect from the entire experience in the evening. And he was so funny and loving, and Mimi, cut it out. So funny and loving and generous with his information. It really made me feel touched, and my journey in this industry, at least, has started with Ram Madhwani. So it was kind of a very sweet moment for me, at least, to be able to talk to him about this international honor.
Sure. Jim, correct to say, Homi J Bhabha has been your most fulfilling experience, creative experience as an actor. Therefore, this is a very deserving nomination. And when you look at Rocket Boys, do you think now you have a different understanding of Homi J Bhabha, the scientist, and how would you like to describe him as a person?
The way I would like to describe him as a person is like a complete man, a Renaissance man. He was extremely driven, and he knew how to harness his ambition and his privilege towards the greater good. He didn't always succeed, but he tried to. He was somebody that was able to look into the future in his mind and kind of pull his vision for the future out of his brain and into the world. He was, of course, a brilliant scientist, but he was also a brilliant violinist, painter, architect. He liked a good laugh. He didn't take himself too seriously. He was interested in the social aspect of life as well. He understood the place for showmanship and theatricality within both politics and science. He was infinitely curious in things. He was just a brilliant, wonderful, incredible man. And it was, you know, the real honor was just getting the opportunity to play somebody, a member of my community as well. You know, possibly the most famous member of my community outside of Freddie Mercury, which is wonderful. Yeah.
Then do you have now a deeper understanding about the politics of India of that time? And do you see India's nuclear energy program or a space mission in a different light?
Yes, definitely. That period was such an interesting period, right? The birth of a new nation, what it means to move forward now within that. The struggles between the Gandhian ideology versus the new world that we were kind of experiencing, how it's easy to profess an idea of peace until China is knocking at your door. The idea of international hypocrisies related to that, you know, Homi Bhabha keeps talking about, which is, I'm about to go to a peace conference in Vienna and here are the 6 most powerful nations, all armed with nuclear weapons, give us lectures about peace and harmony. Just how connected science and politics were during that time because of the limited resources of a new country, you know. The state that we were left in post the British finally leaving, all of these things that were extremely complicated, and you know, more for one individual to be able to completely understand all of the different strings of history and how they intertwine to create the complicated scenario that we had during Dr. Bhabha's time. But just yes, definitely. I've really become a lot more interested in that entire period and the entire political landscape at the time, because you did you had to know it in order to know just what you were playing when, you know, how important it was to maintain the views that Dr. Bhabha had given the overall political landscape. So yeah, definitely.
Then Jim, how exhausting it is for an actor to be in character when you're working on a series? Like how do you keep yourself motivated for a long period of time when you're shooting a series of this scale?
You keep yourself motivated mostly if the material you have to shoot is very, very interesting. And the fact of the matter is that most of the scenes that I had were just so wonderful. There was always something to do there. There was always something new to discover there. There was always a side of Homi that I had a chance to explore and depict. There weren't many you're just there scenes for Dr. Bhabha within the overall structure. So it was quite easy actually to stay motivated because each time there was something new and exciting to work on. And I think all we want actors really is to have something, you know, really juicy to dig our teeth in, and then we can stay motivated forever. I mean, my favorite time is on the set. All of the stuff that happens afterwards is, you know, nice, but the truth is the best times are just on set, struggling with the material, trying to make it come out, trying to solve the problem that the day presents. That's the best.
Gosh. You know, Rocket Boys, the show deals with some very relevant topics like space mission and nuclear energy. Do you think stories about real people dealing with some very real relevant issues like nuclear energy, nuclear bomb, you think such themes are likely to find a connection with even with the jury members of Emmy Awards?
Yes, I think so. I mean, it is the same year that Oppenheimer came out, and I think the only difference between Dr. Bhabha and I mean, there are many differences between Dr. Bhabha and Oppenheimer, but the reason that we can still salute Dr. Bhabha in the way that we do, which is that he was the father of nuclear energy in general, and is because we've been able to use the nuclear energy for power, and we've not had to use the atom bomb yet. If we ever had to use the atom bomb, maybe we would think about it differently, because then he's not just the architect of India's future, he's also the architect of a mass murder. So yeah, I think, of course, all of these topics will always be relevant. Space exploration, people struggling with how to make power for their countries and for the world. We know that the fuel crisis is eventually going to hit. It's pretty much inevitable. Already, so many movements are being made towards using electrical energy as opposed to fuel, especially for cars, etc., etc. That process is already starting to slowly happen, and I imagine the acceleration on that will continue to progress. Yeah, I believe that people take on a show, or people decide to put a show out into the world because they believe the message in the show is still applicable today. I don't think otherwise the show would even be made.
Sure. Jim, when you look at Rocket Boys, do you like the young Homi J Bhabha who fell in love with Pepsi in the beginning of the show, or do you connect more with the matured age Homi?
Well, it'll always be easier for me to play the younger Homi Bhabha because he's more my age, and I remember what it feels like to be ambitious and driven within your field. But as far as the older one goes, that was more of a challenge of trying to understand what happens to that ambition and that fire as somebody gets older. It mellows, it changes. Experience gives you wisdoms that youth does not. There's a brazenness and there's almost an arrogance in youth that slowly gets tempered by time and failure, right? It's easy to think you can do whatever you want and you're unconquerable, and the things inside your brain are just going to happen until you're faced with the realities that things happen slower than you expect. Things don't quite pan out the way that you always planned. And actually, all of those lessons teach you to be more compassionate, to find a different way to express your point, to understand people's weaknesses a bit better. Yeah, but that was something that I had to try to understand and try to grow into, and hope to reflect in my performance, even though it does not always reflect in my life.
In this series, there was never a dull moment each time when Jim Saab appears on the screen. We can clearly see how you brought a bit of your own personality in that character, the way you interact with the team members, or you flow in and out of the rooms in those beautiful scenes with such an ease. What I want to ask you is, what was the maximum number of takes that you have given for any scene for Rocket Boys?
I can't remember. All of these memories just pale in comparison to the fact that one time in the shooting of Binte Dil, we did 64 takes for one thing, and it was like we didn't know what to do differently. It was like, I don't know how to make this good anymore. And there is an interesting thing that happens when you do so many takes, is you just stop thinking. You're just like, I'll do something. So any amount of takes that we did for Rocket Boys just pales in comparison to that. So it's not a sticking point or something that I remember as like, oh man, we did so many takes one day. I don't really.
That was actually my next question. When a director asks you to give X number of retakes, does the performance start having a diminishing effect? Say it doesn't become better, it just keep going down.
No, it's not necessarily that. I mean, Stanley Kubrick used to do it to the cast of The Shining. He used to make them do like 70 takes for things. And I think what it does do is at some point you just stop thinking completely and you start reacting, and it's more instinctive, and maybe you can get something there. So you never know. I don't think there's a hard and fast rule about the law of diminishing returns in terms of takes.
But and finally, Jim, if you win, which I'm sure you certainly will, on November 20th in New York, what is the first thing that you have planned that you're going to do on stage?
I haven't planned anything. I have not planned anything, and I'm trying to avoid thinking about it. And everyone is asking me today, and I'm getting more and more nervous the more and more I think about it. I don't even want to think about it yet. I'll decide all of this later.
Sure. Well, we are eagerly waiting for the evening of November 20th. That'll be early morning here in India.
21st.
Yeah, 21st. Yeah, in India it will be 21st. Looking forward to that, Jim. You'll be shining there on the International Emmy stage. Thank you so much for your time and best of luck.
Thank you, Vishal.
Thank you.